I thought for sure when I came here that I was going to spend a year in Korea, friendless, and finishing whatever writing work I was doing because I wouldn't have any distractions to keep me from that.
That I came to Korea without anyone really knowing who I was.
My biggest fear was not being able to play music, and
we're in a different country and you don't have as many inhibitions, maybe.
Chicago, my love, where did I go wrong? I ain't never had a home behind your wall.
I'm really excited. I've heard that they put on a great show.
That all good men were dead, but I ain't never lived at all.
What the fuck just happened? Like, that was fucking amazing.
Winchester, it was amazing. I've seen amazing things in my life. This was the most amazing thing.
I think Lady Winchester there is
Leave behind my family.
Winchester feels like home. Lady Winchester, lots of different nationalities from
These people are the most ridiculous band I've ever seen.
They have a passion for music. They really enjoy what they do, so it's not just music, but it's music.
Lady Winchester are lots of different nationalities coming together with different ideas, and they all explode on the night, and it's a whole performance that is Lady Winchester.
Technical ability! Technical ability! What is going on here? Technical ability! I see what is happening. Technical ability!
I'm from Ottawa, Canada. Newcastle in England.
Dayton, Ohio.
From America, but I moved around a lot.
I'm from Wales in the UK.
I'm from Rugby in England. I'm from China.
A bear is dancing on the water with quiet light from the moon. Bottle of soju in his right paw. In his left a white balloon.
My first week in Daegu and I had no friends, so I joined, or I looked around online and found out that there was an open mic, so I figured I'd scout it out and maybe the next week I'd play.
The thing is with open mic nights that one of the sort of essential ingredients thereof are, you know, people, and there were none of those. So I played darts on my own for like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, and then this Canadian fella comes in.
Doug was there throwing darts by himself. There's not a single other person in the bar. But we sat down for a while and chatted, and he mentioned that he had sung in bands before. I never figured I'd ever be in a band in my entire life, but yeah, I was in a band last year in Daegu, and that finished, and so I kind of put a Lonely Hearts ad out on the internet, wanting to meet some lovely people to make a band. Dan answered saying he played banjo, and James answered saying he played a bit of guitar. That's when you said you'd kind of met someone who might sing. I'd also met Brad playing drums. Win?
I think they wanted a lead instrument, so yeah. Tom put another ad online.
I don't think you wanted a lead guitarist.
No, actually we wanted a trumpet, I think.
Yeah, we were looking at trumpets. We wanted a trumpet.
No, we definitely didn't want a lead guitar though.
And I had to buy a guitar because I didn't have a guitar. And it was like, oh, so do you think I can be in the band? Because if I'm going to buy this guitar, I definitely want to know if I'm going to be.
Tammy.
Well, Doug is actually one of my oldest Korea friends. Like, we met 2 years ago at the Seoul Zombie Walk. Doug posted something on one of the Daegu Facebook pages, and he was like, oh, you know, we're starting this band, we need like a violin or like an accordion. And I was like, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I've been playing violin since I was 9 years old. I neglected to kind of mention that I hadn't played violin in 10 years, but I was like, no, I did not know that about you. You should come.
So kind of one way or another, kind of people just kind of maybe met 1 or 2 people and then we kind of came together.
And if that big band plays his music, he'll dance you right on through the storm. He says, step out till the sky is floor. Come dance with me. Might be your only time now. Let Donald dance in the trees. The lightning crashes, the fish they fry. The fairy catches out in the sky. Says dance with me, feast with me. Let Donald dance in the trees.
This place in California. It's called the Winchester Mansion, and it was based on the lady, the widow of the guy who made the Winchester rifle. And it was just like, she went to a psychic, the psychic told her to build a mansion to house all the dead that was killed by the Winchester rifle. But she had to make a house that would fool the evil spirits. And it just seemed like a really cool legend story, and it was like, well, it's a great name, let's go for it.
There's no real pressure to be good in a commercial way, so it was only just to have fun, really, this band.
Is there any danger of making any sense? Ooh, not likely.
I can't believe this is happening, kind of, you know, what am I doing? How did I get in this band? Wow.
Stock don't take it so lightly. Someone have a word with you, and everything you say is true.
The entire not playing violin for many years was really scary. Then finally you're just like, you know what, just forget it. I'm just going to have fun and enjoy the ride while it's still here.
I definitely had ambitions when I heard about it initially. The instrumentation was so different from anything else I've ever worked with that I just couldn't help but kind of think.
First 2 gigs was Battle of the Bands kind of first round, and then we got through, and so Daegu Battle of the Bands final, and one of the requirements was you had to have original songs, and we didn't have any original songs. We need to put this together, we need to get some original songs, otherwise we can't do this Battle of the Bands thing, so it kind of forced us to write some stuff.
I think that when we started this thing, we ever had any initial concept of like doing originals or anything like that. It was just supposed to be like stupid covers and stuff like that.
That's what's good about the band is, I mean, Dan's wrote a couple of songs completely by himself, I've wrote a couple completely by myself. So it's Doug and Wynn's got one as well, and then there's been a few collected songs as well.
For me, I'd never, been on stage doing original stuff like that before, and to get like a crowd who's like so happy to hear it was really sweet.
The nature of being a teacher in Korea, it's like everything always comes to an end. Seven people work together, and just seeing where the music comes from, it's just a very interesting thing to watch from beginning to end.
Having people from so many different countries, everybody has different thought process a little bit,
But at the same time, like, some people have never even been in a band before, so I've got like a huge spectrum of kind of experience.
It's interesting that you took 7 people. 7 is a lot of fucking people for a band. And everybody just enjoys each other, It's refreshing, I guess.
When you have that shortened time, it's almost like it's not worth arguing about anything. It's not worth getting into fights.
In our situation, we only have X amount of time. And I think the time crunch of knowing we're not all going to be here forever, and the amount of time we have to practice, we make the most out of our time and work really efficiently.
Well, what's been your favorite thing about Lady Winchester?
I would say all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Absolutely.
Go down at the river and the rocks are left. You gotta get out and pull. Your feet are getting wet, but spirits are high as the pace scrapes off the hull.
So definitely the wildest group. I mean, Doug's pretty incredible as a front man.
This here band I'm in is called Lady Winchester. What we do is, this might be a little bit unfamiliar to you, what we do is we use these instruments, we create tones with the instruments, and generally those tones come together to form what we call a melody, alright? And then, over top of that melody, I usually use my vocal cords to create other melodies.
It seemed to be appropriate that whoever is singing it should be going a little bit more nuts.
When you look back on the videos, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, or even just that like Doug's doing it, just like, how's he doing there? Like, totally missed that.
That guy is some bizarre combination of like the archetype of the backwoods preacher and the inveterate town drunk. There's 3,000 different people in that guy. None of them are really me.
Doug falling off the table, busting his lip and bleeding. I thought that was the most rock and roll thing. I think the first time we lit the sparklers on the guitars, I was doing a drum solo and it kind of came in a little bit late, but I looked up and the guitars were like on fire, and it was just like, alright, this is awesome,
Why did you join Lady Winchester? Was it for the sex, the drugs, or the rock and roll?
I think all three. I mean, they all have value of their own. The sex, abundant, drugs, just have to. I mean, I can't keep up with most of them. The rock and roll, of course, is the driving force behind the two.
Where all have you played with Lady Winchester?
We've played in Seoul a few times, we've played in Busan 4 or 5 times now. We've played on the West a few times. The most places been in Daegu.
They're also the best band that I've seen in Daegu.
Daegu is a little more relaxed, I think. Not as, I don't know, as speedy as Seoul and Busan.
Daegu, it's a big city for Koreans, but I think for foreigners it feels like a small town.
The geography of Daegu, the way it's all, a lot of the stuff is really close together, that you can kind of go from one live music venue to another one.
Do you feel it was the sex, the drugs, or the rock and roll that got you into the band?
Definitely not the drugs. So I guess it has to be either the sex or the rock and roll. It was the rock and roll.
What sort of music do you feel the band plays?
It's pretty straight up. It's pretty straight up. Kind of rocky, folk, hillbilly stuff. It's not too complicated, but there's definitely kind of a rusty bucket vibe to it.
I think that there's this weird sort of symbiosis between us and the music and us and the stage show where we introduce stimulus to it and it introduces stimulus to us, and then the two elements of people and then whatever weird construct we've this fucking Frankenstein thing we've made, it sort of responds to each other's stimulus.
It doesn't have a set genre, which is great, which point is that makes it really accessible to a lot of different people. Everyone just have a bit of a party, and that's pretty much what's happened in all the gigs.
Yeah, there's no like nerves going up on stage or anything anymore, which I had at first. Yeah, I think drunker at the shows. Yeah, drunker at the shows than we used to be, at least for me.
Like, when we first started, we were able to get some practices in, but then it's like, it hit a certain point where people were like, oh, Lady Winchester, like, come play here, so it kind of got to the point where, well, crap, we could either play this gig or have practice. And so we were just like, well, let's just play a gig.
Each time something else would come up and you think that somebody's gonna say, oh, I'm tired, we need a break, everybody would just say, no, let's do it.
Why did you join the band? Was it for the sex, the drugs, or the rock and roll?
Well, I suppose it was mostly the rock and roll, but there really aren't drugs in Korea besides alcohol. I mean, and the sex, well, that just comes with life.
Play one street show once, and it was kind of on the back of a truck sort of thing. So we didn't have our usual contained foreign community in a club, and that actually that was our first exposure to a real Korean audience, I guess. And it went down really well. There was this one old lady, and she was grinding against Doug. An old lady grinding against Doug, giving money to the drummer.
We have knocked over lots of equipment. Lots and lots of equipment has been knocked over. In fact, there was a crazy girl. Oh god, she's gonna watch this probably, I bet. Anyway, there's a crazy girl, and if you think it's you, it's not, I promise. You're completely rational and fine. But there was a crazy girl at our Halloween show who got up on stage and started dancing and nearly knocked that fucking thing over. Just about.
Yeah. I actually
kicked that thing over. I know, she was around. She's just as crazy as she always was.
What was it, the sex, the drugs, the rock and roll that got you into the band?
It was having sex with drugs while eating rolls that were hard as rocks. Awesome. What the fuck is wrong with me? I feel like that's the mantra of my life.
who you go to see. You know your weekend's going to be made if you go to one of their shows, and that's amazing to have at your disposal anytime you want, pretty much. And I'm really sad that they're leaving, and it's going to completely change my experience in Korea. I'm going to miss them.
It was fun. You know, it made me feel good that we were doing something that people really enjoyed. So, yeah, it's kind of blessed of it all to happen.
I think this is like, it's the most kind of fun, continuously fun, successful band I've been in the whole time. I'd like to think I could do something like that when I go back home, but I don't know if I will.
My favorite thing is just really having fun with the guys and just getting out there.
These people are fantastic human beings, and I enjoy being around them.
The camaraderie, the friendship, having this they've sort of been my like kind of surrogate family.
I think the other people are scattered in different countries. Obviously, your kind of life goes on, but there'll still be a place for them in your heart, I guess.
We've done some recordings and we've made a video. We've had someone cover one of our songs. I'd like to think that now we've got stuff recorded because of like the internet and whatever, the stuff is kind of there forevermore, and so kind of like the legacy will live on even if we go our separate ways, and then potentially, you know, we could all meet up again sometime in the future.
What'd you call it when the 2030 midlife crisis reunion?
Yeah. 2003.
You know, especially now that we have like a bit of a fan base. We're going to be releasing our CD on probably our very last show.
I don't know, I guess I'd rather leave feeling like I don't want to than stay feeling like I don't want to be here.
It would be sad because those are most of my friends here, so it'll be like, I mean, I have to stay here for another 6 months or something, so it'll be like losing all your friends.
Obviously, if you've been in a band like Lady Winchester, which has been, you know, relatively successful for what it is, considering that there's the amount of time, you are going to get sad about it when it ends, but c'est la vie.
It's like I can't really capture the same experience I've had, but, you know, I'm always open to like a new experience or whatever, and I have been asked to be in like a band or two since I've been here, but like after Lady Winchester, but I'm not sure. I might have to go through my mourning period.
I think we made the most of our time, and we've done a lot of great things that I think a lot of people have enjoyed, and we've been very lucky, so I'll miss it, but it's good memories to have and good people to know and know for the rest of my life and keep in touch with, so.
You can't say how much, you know, it won't be the same kind of staying in touch, but I'm sure there'll be people who have Facebook these days, right?
Yeah, man, I mean, if in an instant, like if I got an email in, you know, a year, 2 years from Tom or Dan or anyone in the band that said, hey, hop on an airplane, we've got a gig, I'd be there. I'd find a way, you know?
Do it like that.
Yeah.
It would be great.
We all sort of feel like a little bit of remorse in that if we had a second year, I think there's a lot of things we could have done. That what could have been is always going to be there a little bit.
It's so rare that people are ever happy enough in the place they are that having to leave seems like sort of a tragic moment. I feel like when you have that, maybe that's the time to bow out.
Who's gonna die? Who's gonna die? Everybody. Who's gonna die? Who's gonna die? Everybody. Who's gonna die? Who's gonna die? Everybody. Be happy now, 'cause you can't when you're dead. Have a good time all the time, like this girl.
Winchester.